So let's just, I want to just touch on this aspect of what came out about this story, Rod Rosenstein. Very early on in this whole thing, my speculation was that Donald Trump, and I think one or two times, probably when we do those shows where there's drinking involved, I have, talked about my completely speculative take on this whole involvement of the FBI, Donald Trump with Russia, whatnot. I think his relationship is probably not terribly different than some politicians have with major corporations, although I think Russia is willing to take their support a little further than some major corporations. I don't know if one is more relevant than the other in terms of winning elections. But my speculation was, and largely informed by conversations I had with the late Wayne Barrett, where he would say it was all about Felix Sater, that Felix Sater is a CIA and FBI asset. He was basically, as far as I can tell, laundering money for Russian oligarchs and probably other people in Europe. He supposedly gave the CIA Osama bin Laden's phone number. Supposedly, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he claimed. And I haven't seen any refutation of it. I don't know that you would. But certainly Loretta Lynch, when she was with the DOJ, wrote an affidavit on his behalf in a sentencing trial, which is not normally what you see heads of USA offices doing on behalf of people who stab someone in the face with a champagne flute. And we now have this report that Rod Rosenstein, when he was acting director of, or acting attorney general, maybe he was deputy attorney general at the time, but I think he was acting as well, quashed the counterintelligence investigation that the FBI was starting to do about Donald Trump. This is distinct from the criminal investigation. Counterintelligence doesn't have the same evidentiary requirements because they're not going to bring charges in that regard. They're just trying to establish, do we have a national security risk? Based upon the relationship that this individual, in this case, it was the president of the United States, has with a foreign entity. Not that he is this is not like a Manchurian candidate situation. This is Donald Trump is Donald Trump, and it's quite clear, I think, cares about Donald Trump and does not care if he thinks he can make a buck by, he doesn't have any policy set. He doesn't have any, he didn't become president because he's like, I really want to do X or Y. He just goes by what he thinks is going to get him elected. I don't even think originally he wanted to get elected. He just wanted to build his brand. And so there's no reason to believe that he wouldn't operate in that same way in regards to Russia or any other country for that matter, or any other business. And Rod Rosenstein shut down, according to a New York Times piece that is part of, I guess, it's a Michael Schmidt's book that's soon to come out. Rod Rosenstein shut down the counterintelligence investigation with the FBI. The FBI at the time thought that this portion of the investigation would go to Robert Mueller, along with the criminal investigation that Robert Mueller was doing. The FBI was not informed that Mueller was limited to just the criminal investigation and not to be looking at the counterintelligence investigation charges at all. So no one, short of the Senate Intel Committee, has done any type of investigation from a counterintelligence perspective. And that's why the intelligence, the Senate Intelligence Committee certainly went further than the Mueller report, found that in fact Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, had an ongoing relationship with not only with someone who was a spy for the Russian government, but someone that he knew was a Russian spy for the Russian government, because they found documents where he excluded this guy from certain situations and conversations because he knew where that information would end up. And so I am quite convinced that the reason why they were able to shut this down is because there are elements, no even agency, I think, is a monolith. I think there are elements in the FBI, and you can go back to October of 2016 when there was reports of like a mutiny in the New York FBI office, that the FBI was involved at the very least in a way that is unreported with Felix Sater, and that Donald Trump was one end of what Felix Sater was doing. And I would imagine that there maybe have been protection because this was, from their perspective, an operation that was providing them intel. I don't think we'll ever know whether or not that theory is completely half-baked. But there's a lot of, it's very weird. Felix Sater just walking around, quite clear that the guy was involved in money laundering, and he would launder that money through the Trump organization. But I don't know that we'll ever know. Completely distinct question in my mind from whether Russia was the reason that Donald Trump became president. I think it's certainly relevant, though, in terms of some of his actions during it.